Welcome back to Unfiltered Unspoken Podcast. And we told you we're going to continue to share life experiences. We want to welcome back our guests. I think it's been like 2 years.
Yeah.
Miss Alma Thompson. We're following up on where she's at now, her condition, how things are. We're going to tune right into that. But before we do that, we're going to ask Miss Alma to come up and introduce herself. And then, as y'all know, City Sid is going to kick off that first question. Welcome back, Miss Alma.
Welcome, welcome. Thank you for inviting me again. It's great to see you again. Um, introduce myself. I'm not very good at this, but I am an ordained minister. I recently obtained my doctorate in theology. Um, I'm still writing books. I try to go on podcasts once or twice a week. Not for sympathy, but to inspire people that no matter what you go through in life, that your current situation is not your final destination. So I'm here and I'm still in my bed. But I've gotten up and went out a couple of times. So I'm doing great.
That is wonderful to hear. Thank you so much again for being here with us this evening. So we're going to kind of somewhat pick up where we left off, um, and just how either things have progressed or declined, or any updates to your health. So tell us a little bit about what achievements you've been able to make since the last time we've spoken with you, or where your health is in general right now.
Okay. Um, I share with you that I suffered a stroke, but also in this year in September, I was diagnosed with cervical cancer. I went through 15 weeks of radical radiation. I'm now waiting for the test to let me know if the radiation got all the cancer. And like I said, I was able to get into a wheelchair in June because my baby graduated from college with her BA degree, and then I gave her a party, and I was able to attend both of those events. So I'm looking forward to getting back outside and sharing my story on physical stages.
Miss Alma, you said this was you finally got back into a wheelchair. How long was it that you weren't in a wheelchair? And what was the reason before you couldn't get into a wheelchair?
It's been 4 years, and basically it was because I put myself in a mental prison. That in order for me to get out of bed, I have to be lifted by a Hoyer lift, and I was deadly afraid of the Hoyer lift. I kept telling myself, God has not given us the spirit of fear. God has not given us the spirit of fear. But every time that they would try to lift me up, something physical like my legs was hurting, or but basically it was just fear. And I knew that my baby really wanted me to be at her graduation. So I had to conquer that fear. And God is amazing because now I'm not afraid of the Hoyer lift. That when they have to use the Hoyer lift, I'm not afraid. Now I'm trying different things to see why when I'm sitting up, my backside is after 1 or 2 hours, it's an unbearable pain. So now that's the only thing that is stopping me from getting into my wheelchair every day.
And obviously you're not, a stranger to health issues, and you've been through some of the worst things that you could possibly have gone through. However, what was your mind frame like, upon the cancer diagnosis? How did that make you feel? On top of trying to recover from everything else.
That because I had such a faith and experience with God that no matter what I've gone through, He has showed up. And every storm that I've been in, He's calmed the storm. So even when they gave me the cancer diagnosis, I did not worry. I did not fret. I was just like, okay, what we gonna do? What is the next step? So, because of my faith in God, I didn't think about the diagnosis. I just thought about God's miraculous hand that He was able to touch this situation also.
And I want to ask, you said you went through 15 weeks of radical radiation. How were they able to do the radiation? Did they come to your home? How were you able to
No,
make
I had to
it?
go to the cancer center, but they took me in a stretcher.
Oh, so they would come pick you up in an ambulance, take you
Yes,
and bring you back.
yes.
Okay, okay. What was that like?
Well, in the beginning, um, it was embarrassing to me because it would take so many people to make sure I was safe. And once I got, it's just the ambulance drivers, two drivers. But when I got to the center, since they wanted to be safe and make sure they didn't drive because they had to transfer me to a table, and the table is very small, and they had to transmit the table, make sure I was safe. So at first I was embarrassed that all these people that every day I had to see like 20 people in the radiation room making sure I was safe. But then after I went for a few times, the people were really nice and really great. When I would, voice my embarrassment to the nurses, they would be like, "This is our job. Don't be embarrassed." So they made it easier because they were very kind and helpful.
And you did say, that you've, earned another educational accolade. Um, how, difficult for you is, if it is, and what kind of, differences do you notice, cognitively, now versus, before your health crisis?
Oh, God is great. The only when I had my stroke, um, my speaking skills, my speech skills, and my cognitive skills were never affected. Um, so when I went back to school, the only difference that I had is that it was on Zoom, and it was hard for me to listen to the lessons and type with my one finger at the same time. So another one of the doctoral students would take down the notes and send them to me. And a lot of times on my when I received my master's degree, they was like, okay, we'll just give you a guaranteed C, and you won't have to take the test or write the paper. And I was like, no, I want to take the test and write the paper. And I thought it was going to be difficult because the first test was oral. He would ask the questions and we would have to type the answer. And I thought that, okay, I'm going to be typing so slow, he'll be on to the next question before I get a chance to answer. But it was like God stretched the time that I would be finished before he asked the next question. And they were like, we met and decided that you on the test and the paper, you did better than a C, and I got an A in the master's class, and then I went on to the doctoral class, and it was really simple. And God is so amazing that at the same time I was getting my doctorate degree, I was teaching the bachelor's class and getting my doctorate, and sometimes to teach the professor I was unable to show up, and me and another doctorate student would teach the class. So in the end, I graduated second in the class as salutatorian, and I wasn't able to go to the that graduation because they didn't have a ramp. So my pastor um read my speech and accepted my award. So it gave me another way to inspire people that no matter, right here on my bed is the place that the enemy told me it was all over. I was worthless. My body didn't work no more. I would never preach again. I would never speak again. And the devil is a liar. I have every Tuesday night, I teach Bible study for my own church. The president of the school who asked me to teach during the school year, um, and on Fridays I teach a class. On this week, he's called me to teach again for this week, and I was like, God, you're so amazing because the students in that class are all apostles, doctors, and we're still learning from each other. Right in the place, the enemy said it was all over. Right here in the place, I'm starting my grief coaching program, because there's a lot of programs that help you deal with grief and how to go on after the loss. But what happens after the loss and you've lost your purpose? What is your purpose? How are you going to use this pain and this loss to fulfill your purpose?
Amen. I just want to say I commend you because so many people make excuses as to why, and you're like almost, you've been since the last time we were, I want to say bedridden, like in the bed, couldn't get out. But you're writing books, doctrines, teaching classes. They guaranteed you a C and you excelled at second best in class. There, like you've just proven like there is no excuse to what a person can do. So I want to give you your flowers for that. I want to go back really quick because you had mentioned when you were doing the chemo, the radiation, that you would go, the tables were too small and you were embarrassed. Can you tell us a little bit about why you were embarrassed and why you felt the way that you felt?
Okay, because um I've been overweight all my life, but but I was able to do things for myself. Now, I taught for 32 years, being active with children and stuff. So I was able to do things for myself. And with this going to radiation, I was dependent on other people. And some people, the people at the radiation department, they were very, very nice and accommodating, but sometimes the original ambulance drivers weren't so kind and accommodating. And my aide and I would tell them how it works, that they're looking at my size and saying, "Oh my goodness, we can't do that," and we're telling you, "You're not picking me up." My aide puts um a sheet under me, and she helps, and the only thing you have to do is pull me from the bed to the stretcher. So as they kept sending the same ones, and we established a rapport with them, it got a lot easier, and I wasn't dreading. I would look forward to Saturdays and Sundays, because I wouldn't go on Saturdays and Sundays, just Monday through Friday. And I would dread in the beginning going. I dread who they were gonna send and how they were gonna react. But after a while, they would send the same ones, and they eventually told me that they would sign up for this job because I was so far away from their base. They was stationed out in Brooklyn. So this was an all day case. When they come and bought me and stayed there with me, it was an all day easy case whereas sometimes they would have to do multiple runs in order to complete their shift. When they had me, they only had to do me, and they said that they would, run to the board and try to sign up for me, because it was really an easy job. So that made me feel a lot better.
Now, I remember you saying earlier, kind of your will to kind of get up, get active, get out a little bit. You have motivation for your child's graduation. I just want to confirm that you actually were able to go. I'm not sure if it came up yet, but were you actually able to make it? And how did you feel about that? And if you haven't gone yet, what do you feel like your outlook is to get there?
Oh yes, I went. It was in May of this year that she graduated. So I went in like everything. It At first it was an ordeal, because this was the first time I ever set up in a ambulance. So, with the stopping and going and moving, I shifted down, and I was like, okay, I'm about to fall out this wheelchair. So now it's funny, a funny story. So we called the ambulance, because we thought that they would just come and bring me back home. And they was like, no, we can bring you to a hospital, but not home. So the police was very nice. They were like, what do you need? And I was like, I just need to be sat back up in my chair. So the police came up, they sat me up back in the chair. And then at first my mind was, I still want to go home. This thing is just terrible. But um, when my daughter left the ambulance, she was had to march in, and she was like, "It's okay, mommy. I understand you tried um to come." But then my aide told me that my sister told me. My aide was saying, "Oh, she was fine. She's fine." But my sister told me, she was like, "Oh, but it's breaking my heart." When she walked away from the van to her graduation, she was crying. and that gave me the will. I was like, okay, here, stop talking crazy that you're gonna go home and let them push you in there. You up, the police pick you up, you're up. So, I went into the graduation. I saw my daughter graduate, and then, of course, when I got home, I had fallen out of the wheelchair. Again, we called the ambulance people, which are now my friends. They know that whenever they come, it's a problem. So, when they got here, trying to help me sit back up in the chair, they pulled the thing that was underneath me to get the hook up to the Hoyer lift. They pulled it out the way, and so the fire department had to come, and they had to, since I was almost out the chair, the ENS says, "Oh, you have to just drop her all the way to the floor." So they dropped me to the floor. The Hoyer lift picked me up, put me back in the bed, and I was able to go to my daughter's graduation and have a funny story to share with people about that day. But once again, I persevered and I didn't give up.
And I wanted to ask, you said when you sit up for a certain amount of time, you have a lot of pain in your back. Can you talk a little bit about the pain and how it affects you?
That when I sit for a long period of time, then the pain becomes unbearable. Like it's a lot of pressure on my bottom, and the pain is excruciating. That by the time I get home and they're getting me back in bed, I'm almost in tears, and I just wanna be able to lay down and stretch out. And after taking a couple of pain relievers, it goes away. I tried taking pain relievers while I'm sitting up, but it doesn't work. The pain is still unbearable. So we're trying different things to see what pillows and cushions or whatever will work.
And is there any kind of pending outlook on the cancer diagnosis? Did radiation totally help? Are you still continuing that? What's the kind of game plan, for that portion of your health?
Oh, now we're just waiting to take a PET scan to see if the cancer is gone.
That's awesome. And how, since being able to get up, kind of get out, test the waters a little bit, have you been able to do that again thus far? Do you have plans to, or what is required for you to get there, or for you to feel the most comfortable with doing that?
Well, yes, I'm looking forward to, like I said, getting up again and traveling around. In the area that I live in, they have handicap transportation. So I'm waiting to see if I was approved for that. And we're just taking it one day at a time.
Oops, sorry. I wanted to ask, with the radiation, what was some of the side effects of the radiation?
Extreme itching. I was nauseous, and a lot of times I had to force myself um to eat a little something. But overall it wasn't as bad as I expected to be.
Did you lose hair from it too?
No. Matter of fact,
Okay.
my hair grew longer.
That's good. At least a somewhat of a good outcome. Something got something out of it.
Yeah.
Um, now, what would you say is your next kind of goal or milestone? To reach. Something that you haven't been able to do that you plan to get there, plan to make it happen for yourself. Is there something else that's next on kind of like the bucket list?
Next on my bucket list is next semester I'm taking the chaplain class, the chaplaincy class. And my ultimate goal is to get out of here and be able to travel and, like I said, to speak on physical stages, to continue preaching God's word, because as long as I have this voice, I will let nothing separate me from God and doing His work, what He has called me to do. See, I've gone through. A lot of people think that grief is just when you lose something, you lose someone, but grief shows up in all the situations, the storms that I've been in. We know we have the grief of losing a loved one, and I have the experience of losing my son and making it through. You have grief when you lose your house and don't know where you're gonna lay your head. I've experienced that grief. You have the grief of a lost relationship and the loss of faith in someone who was supposed to be doing something and they wasn't. And at the end of the relationship, you find yourself in financial ruins and have to build yourself back up from the ground up. I know the grief of losing a body part because my right side was affected by the stroke. So, when I tell people that you can make it through those things, I'm just not talking because I read it in a book. I'm not just talking because somebody else that I know went through it, but I'm telling you that you can make it because I made it through. And God is not a respecter of a person. The same God that did it for me will do it for you. You can't lose your faith. You got to hold on to your faith. That's the main thing, that you hold on to your faith. You don't give up on yourself. You don't give up on your dreams. The one thing that I learned in April of 2021 was that the cemetery is full of dead dreams and dead visions. And I didn't want my dreams to die inside of me. So I'm gonna do something to your audience. You know, when you were young, you used to do things and your parents would ask you, Demetra, why did you do that? And you would say, because so and so dared me. And your parents would say, if they dared you to jump off the roof, would you do that too? Well, on tonight, I am more than daring. I'm double dog daring your audience to dream again, to reach inside those dreams that they thought was dead, those dreams that they rocked to sleep, the dreams that they never thought they could have, and dream again. Joseph in the Bible dreamed, and when he shared his dreams with his brothers, they were his main haters. And yet, he dreamed again. So I'm telling you that don't let your dreams die inside of you. When your time to go, be empty inside.
Thank you. Um, we're at time. This was a shorter interview, but we want to thank you so much for coming back and letting us know your status, your update, and I'm proud of you. I'm so proud of you and all your accomplishments. And, just don't give up. I do want to ask one thing before we close out is do you feel like your weight is holding you back from getting out of the bed, doing the necessary things that you're doing, the pain that you're encountering? Do you feel like your weight is playing a part in that? And if so, are you losing weight? Are you on a diet? What are things that you're doing to make change?
Yes, I do feel that it has a place, and the obstacles that I'm now facing. I have changed my eating habits, um, hoping that, as the weight, I noticed that as the weight is coming off, that when my aides turned me in the beginning, when they would turn me to my side, I would have difficult breathing, and I could only stay on my right side for a few minutes. After a few minutes, I would start to complain. But now, I can stay on that side for a lot longer. I'm pushing myself up um, in the bed. Like you've seen I have movement and feeling in my legs when you touch them. I can feel you. So, and God has promised me that I'm gonna walk again. But we know that things just don't fall from the sky. That if you want something different, then you have to do. If you want something you never had, then you have to do something you never done. And after the PET scan, my daughter, no, my doctor is going to put me on the GLP's medicine to speed up the weight loss.
Okay. Sid, did you have anything else to ask, Alma? Sorry.
No, ma'am, no.
Okay. All right. Before we close out, what we do with all of our guests is can you give the audience advice from your personal life experience? We are not therapists, we are not psychologists, we are based solely off life experience. Can you give folks from your life experience that have been through a stroke, breathing, weight, cancer, just the whole 9 yards? What to do to continue to keep moving and thriving as you are because you're not giving up. And I think a lot of people need your personal life experience advice.
Um, hmm, the first thing that I would tell them, it's Martin Luther King said a statement that if you can't run, then walk. If you can't walk, then crawl, but continue to move forward. Don't stop. And life, I compare life to a GPS system. That if you make a wrong turn, you going on a trip and you make a wrong turn, do you pull over to the side of the road and say, I'm not moving, I'm not leaving from this space because I made a wrong turn, I missed my turn, now I'm going to stay sitting right here in this car forever? No. You put the destination into your GPS system and it says rerouting, rerouting. Well, that what God does to us. That we have a plan and a way that we want to get to our destination. And we miss that turn. So God takes us another way. It might be full of obstacles, it might be full of hurdles, but you still get to your destination. Don't allow anything to stop you from your purpose and your destination. Continue moving. If you can't move as fast as you want, move slow. Slow and steady wins the race. Don't anything that you go through in life, I can tell you that in the beginning while you going through it, you may not see the end results. You may not see yourself out of that storm. But every storm has an expiration date. No storm lasts forever. Treat your life like a book, an unfinished book. Once a chapter, some chapters are long, some chapters are short, some chapters are funny, some are sad, but you can always turn a page and it's an empty page and you can start all over again. It's not over until God says it's over.
Absolutely. Thank you so much again. As we always do, we'd like to give you a chance to participate in Shameless Plug, which is the time for you to talk about what's important to you, things that you have for sale, anything that you want to advocate for, pretty much anything that you want our viewers to know about you or how they can patronize any services you got going on. Please let our viewers know how they can contact you if your story has resonated with them in any way, and how they can purchase books and all the things. Just let them know.
Okay, my Facebook, I'm working on my website as we speak, but my Facebook is Alma Thomas, and you can reach me on Facebook. On Facebook, I have listed the books that I have written. If you want any of the books, you can order them from me. Um, as I said earlier, in October, 8th and 9th is going to be the launch of my coaching program called Subtai. It's named after my two children, Tyshawn that passed away, and Sabria, my daughter. And it's going to talk about grief, going through the stages of grief, journaling while you're going through, and at the end, if you want to share your journals, how you can write a book. But like I said, that a lot of grief programs just help you deal with the grief. And after the grief, what are you going to do? After the grief, how are you going to use your pain, turn your pain into passion? So you can look for that. My launch of my program, which will be on October 8th and 9th on Facebook. It's going to be a virtual. I have a speaker, and it's going to be door prizes and stuff. And the registration fee is going to be free. So I will be introducing my program. So anyone who wants to check me out on Facebook. And once again, thank you for having me again. And thank you for allowing me to be transparent and share.
Our pleasure. We want to thank you again for tuning into Unfiltered Unspoken Podcast, where we're going to continue to share life experiences. Ain't that right, City said? City said.
Yes, I'm sorry.
Ain't that right? We're going to keep sharing life.
Yes.
We love having fun. This, life is too short. Um, Please like, share, and subscribe to our YouTube, Unfiltered Unspoken Podcast. You could also scan this QR code right here. It'll take you to our YouTube. Follow us on LinkedIn, Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, Unfiltered Unspoken Podcast. And that is our mission. That is our goal. We have now shared over 250 episodes with all kinds of life trauma in hopes that someone that is looking for resources that they are able to connect to start their journey to healing. Elma, thank you again for joining us and sharing your testimony. I'm so proud of you and all that you're doing. You keep fighting. You're just a living example of what God can do despite what you're going through.
Amen. Thank you again for the invitation.
My pleasure. Hold 1 second as we wrap it up. We'll see y'all soon. Ain't that right, City Said?
That's right.
That's right. Each and every Monday at 8 p.m. We got you. Peace.